Dark side's calling out, nothing is real. She'll never know just how I feel. Out in the shadows, she walks like a dream. Makes me feel crazy, makes me feel so mean. Nothing gonna save me from a love that's blind.
Dark side's calling out, nothing is real. She'll never know just how I feel. On the dark side, oh yeah.
Not bad.
What?
I said not bad.
Not bad? Eddie, what's with you? The kid can't play, he can't sing, and he can't write. So what's not bad?
He's got something we need.
Like what?
Words and music, Doc. Words and music.
Dark side's calling out, nothing is real. She'll never know just how I feel. From out of the shadows, she walks like a dream. Make me feel crazy, make me feel so mean. Nothing gonna save me from a love this blind. Slip to the dark side, across that line. On the dark side, oh yeah. On the dark side, oh yeah. Dark side's coming out, nothing is real. She'll never know just how I feel. From out of the shadows, she walks like a dream. Make me feel crazy, make me feel so mean. Nothing gonna save me from a love that's blind. Slip to the dark side, across that line. On the dark side, oh yeah. On the dark side, oh nothing gonna save me from a love that's blind. Slip to the dark side, across that line. On the dark side, oh yeah. On the dark side, oh yeah. On the dark side, oh yeah. On the dark side, oh
Welcome back to my Sunday night jam. I'm not going to do a lot of rock songs for this project. I'm going to do some hair metal and some rock songs with synthesizers, but nothing as sort of stripped down as this kind of song. So I wanted to just do something a little bit different this time. That opening shot, Tom Berenger, his character goes to a Holiday Inn to see a Eddie and the Cruisers tribute band that the bass player had started from the original band. And what you're seeing is him watching that band on stage at the Holiday Inn, and he's remembering when he actually wrote that song himself. And that emotion just really struck me. It always strikes me whenever I see that movie. I guess I'm somebody that's haunted by the past. Not in a bad way so much as, you know, I miss my dad, I miss my grandparents, I miss my Nana in Mattatuck on Long Island. I'm very good at living in the now, in the moment, and I don't have Facebook on my phone and all that crap. But doing this project is very cathartic for me. It helps me sort of make peace with the past, let go of the past, and still have it with me, if that kind of makes sense. Eddie and the Cruisers was a film that came out in 1983, and it went nowhere. It was out for 3 weeks, and they pulled it. The song On the Dark Side from John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band peaked at number 67 on the charts. And what happened was that next summer, the summer of '84, everybody started getting cable television. I think we got our cable television in the autumn of 1984. So the summer of '84, kids were home from school. They got HBO for the first time, and Eddie and the Cruisers was always on. And then suddenly they were like, wow, this is a pretty cool movie. And it actually went back into theaters, I think, and the song peaked at number 7 on the top 100. So it's amazing the life that just got back into a movie and a song and a soundtrack like that. Is pretty fantastic. The movie itself, I remember watching it with my family, and it was just a cool idea of, there was a rock band from the early 60s, and the lead singer was a bit of a visionary, and so they came out with this album that was way ahead of its time, and everybody thought it was a joke and everybody hated it. So he drove off the bridge and killed himself. And he was somebody that was really inspired by the real life poet Rimbaud, who at the age of 19 dropped off the face of the earth and was presumed dead, and then showed up 20 years later on his deathbed somewhere. So they came up with this thing like, is Eddie still alive? Which is, you don't usually put rock and roll and mystery into the same movie. I just thought that was kind of interesting. And for a lot of people, it was like the tale of Jim Morrison. It was like, did he actually fake his death? Is he out there somewhere? This was in the early 80s. Is he out there somewhere still alive, living his life without anyone knowing? And I think that was all just pretty interesting. The soundtrack was done by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, who are from, I think, Warren, Rhode Island. My 6 degrees of separation with that is the guy that recorded and mixed Eddie and the Cruiser soundtrack, Phil Green. I was supposed to work with on my first song. He owned a studio in Rhode Island called Normandy, and he did New Kids on the Block and New Edition and John Cafferty and all of these big people that are local. So in 1997, after years of being in bands and being told what I should or shouldn't do, I finally started writing songs by myself. And my first song, Summer Rain, I decided I wanted to produce this, and I'm going to spare no expense. So it was 48-track analog reels. I was going to mix it at Sound Techniques, which became Mix One, and on a SSL, I think G Series mixing board. I tracked all of the music and the vocals on Newberry Street at Cybersound. So when it came time to mixing, I was going to hire Phil Green. I want to go for it with this thing. And it was in January, and it came the day to actually go to Sound Techniques and do this, and he didn't show up. And as usual in the music business, he was one of those guys that he wears shorts and flip-flops all year, 365 days a year, and it was possibly going to snow that day. So he wouldn't come out of the house. So we did like a quick mix. I think Miguel and Perry, who were from Cybersound, helped me out that day, and my buddy Ted Paddock was engineering. So my one chance to work with this guy was gone, because as usual in the music business, he's a little fruity. And I ended up actually, because I knew what I wanted to hear, but I didn't know how to get there, I put Ted through the paces, and I ended up mixing that song 12 times. And each time I mixed it was like $1,200 to book the whole day, because you had to reset the entire board from scratch. You take notes at the end of the session, and then you put it all back for the next session. So all in all, I spent about $30,000 on that one song, between the CDs and the cover art, and I had it mastered 4 different times and mixed it 12 times. I was a little obsessed. Fortunately, today I know what I'm doing, and I can do all that in a couple weeks instead of 3 years. But that's my 6 Degrees of Separation with them. I always loved this movie and loved the soundtrack. This soundtrack is how I learned to play drums. I would just take out the vinyl record and play along to it every day, just for the love of it. So when I did this, actually, most of what you're hearing is a first take, because it's all ingrained in my DNA. I don't need to learn the drum part. I don't need to learn the guitar parts and everything else. So there was a lot of love for this song and this movie. One of my biggest disappointments in my life was Eddie and the Cruisers 2, which came out in 1989. At the time, I didn't have a car, so I borrowed my sister's 1966 Cadillac, which was like 30 feet long, and drove to Dedham for the very first showing to see this movie. And it was awful. It was so bad that I won't even watch it today, like out of curiosity or nostalgia. I don't ever want to see that again. It was awful. And her car ended up breaking down in Hanover, at the Hanover exit on the way home. That was that day. And it was just, some movies should not have sequels. So what's coming up next? Next month, I'm going to change up the schedule and do a song that I hadn't planned on doing. At the end of June, my best friend's mom died. And 50 years ago, we lived next door to each other, and it was the greatest time ever. And I loved his mom. She was awesome, and we still can't believe it. So I would like to do a song in sort of as a tribute, and I want to talk a little bit about our time together. Even though I'm talking about 1973 and not like 1983, I feel like this project is a really good way to get to know me, aside from some silly meme I might post on Facebook. Sometimes I think that this project is sort of more of my legacy. I always thought that writing and producing pop songs would be my legacy, but it's probably more likely going to be this. So I'd like to do that and talk about her a little bit. Really excited to be back doing this. Taking a month off is difficult. And I find even just doing this, the more I keep going, the more I'm getting better at this and experimenting and learning. And this is the first video I ever shot in F-Log. F-Log is a setting on your camera that sort of takes away the color and exposure and stuff like that and just concentrates on detail. So the brain in your camera is just recording detail, which if you're shooting in the dark or at night or outside, cameras need light. So it's a great way to record as much detail and get as clean a picture as you can, and then you go into in your editing software, and then you boost up the exposure and the saturation and change the color and whatever else, because it starts as a very flat image that it records, and then you have all this detail to work with, and you can just juice it up. So even just doing this month, I've filmed and edited, I think, somewhere around 460 music videos. So for me to be doing this for the first time and experimenting after 10 or 12 years of doing it, that's why I love this project. I just keep going and keep getting better and keep experimenting. So thanks for checking it out as always, and I will see you guys in September. Thanks.